In this episode of Akram's Ideas, I'm going to show you how to make these pumpkin dessert square bars. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Burris, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. In this episode of Akram's Ideas, I'm going to show you how to make one of my all-time fall favorite desserts, pumpkin dessert square bars, which is a recipe that I got a couple of years ago from Williams-Sonoma. And it uses one of my favorite autumn products, which if you watched my I Heart Fall Tag video, you would know is the Muirhead Pecan Pumpkin Butter. It's a really quickie bake recipe. It only takes a few ingredients and it is so delicious. So with that said, let's get started. To make our pumpkin squares, it really is a quickie bake. You're only going to need a handful of ingredients. Now, the most important ingredient is the Muirhead's Pecan Pumpkin Butter. And you can get this at your local Williams-Sonoma store. And pumpkin butter is absolutely one of my favorite cooking products for autumn. So you will need that. That's our main ingredient. Now, the great thing about the pumpkin butter is that it has all your spices and everything inside of it. So you don't need any extra spices or sugars or anything really. Now, you will also need a cake mix. And you will just need one yellow box cake mix. You could also use a spice cake, but since the pumpkin butter already has all the spices, you might want to consider simply using a regular cake mix, a regular yellow cake. Now, in efforts to make this low sugar, I'm actually using a sugar-free cake mix since the pumpkin butter already has some sugar inside of it. So again, I'm using a sugar-free cake mix. Now, with that, the pumpkin squares are made in 3 different layers. So you're going to take your cake mix and you're going to divide it out so that you have 1 cup of cake mix reserved. And to that 1 cup, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, and in my case, I'm using Splenda since I want to keep it low sugar, and then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Other ingredients that you're going to need 3 eggs, 3 tablespoons of milk, and 3/4 cup of melted butter. As I said before, this recipe is made in layers. So you're going to take your cake mix, which you've already separated that 1 cup of mix from. With the cake mix, you're going to want to sift the cake mix thoroughly, which is one thing that I always suggest if you're using any kind of dry ingredients, to sift it thoroughly. And this is going to be our bottom layer. And to the cake mix, you're going to add 1/2 cup of the 3/4 cup of melted butter. So you're leaving 1/4 cup of melted butter for our topping later. You'll also want to add 1 egg. Now you're going to want to take your butter, egg, and cake mix mixture over to the mixer and blend it all up. So I took the cake mix, butter, and egg combination to the mixer, and I got it into sort of a cookie dough texture. And you're going to put this at the bottom of a greased 9 by 13 pan. So I'm going to take this, and this is going to be our bottom layer. And so I'm going to just dump it all inside of here. And what you're going to do is you're going to, just like with like a graham cracker crust, you're going to take this and kind of spread it so that it fills up the bottom layer of the pan. And so you're going to take your hands and just kind of mash it in so that it fills out the bottom half of your pan. So in the end, it should look something like this. Our second layer is going to be the pumpkin butter layer. And so you take your 1 jar of pumpkin butter, and I'm going to scoop it all out. It smells so good. I love the smell of pumpkin butter. It smells like a pumpkin pie in a jar. To this 1 jar of pumpkin butter, you're going to add your 2 leftover eggs. And lastly, you're going to add that 3 tablespoons of milk. And again, you're going to take this over to the mixer and whip it up. Now that I have my pumpkin butter mixture prepared, it's going to go directly on top of the cake mix layer. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pour it in here, making sure that I get all of it. And so with this layer, just like the cake mix layer, you're going to go ahead and use your spatula to kind of smooth it out so that it gets all the way across the entire cake. And at this point, your pumpkin squares should look like this. Our last step to the pumpkin squares is to add our crumble topping. So again, in this bowl we have the 1 cup of the reserved cake mix with 1 tablespoon of flour, a 1/4 cup of sugar, or in my case Splenda, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. And it's all been sifted. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to stir it all together. And to that, you're also going to add the remaining 1/4 cup of butter. And you're going to get it into a crumble consistency. And then to get it on the top of our cake here, basically you're just going to grab a little handful and kind of break it apart into a crumble topping. Once you have your crumble topping on top, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Once that layer is on, you're going to put this in an oven at 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. So here they are. Here are the pumpkin dessert square bars. Taken the cake out of the pan, I let it cool, and then sliced them into little squares. In our house, we actually call them pumpkin cookies, even though it's a cake. They just kind of feel like cookies, especially when you just kind of break them apart into little bar-sized shape. They are so good. It's like a pumpkin pie and cake married together with this delicious cinnamon crumble top. The pumpkin dessert squares are delicious just on their own. However, if you want, you can even give them a topping of Cool Whip or something. But like I said, they're one of my favorite autumn time desserts. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up so I know what kind of videos you guys look forward to seeing. And as always, don't forget to follow Akram's Ideas on social media or subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching!